Claire is practicing her breathing for her upcoming yoga retreat in Bali. Has she ever done yoga before? No. But Claire worked with Empower on her savings and investment strategy. She got good at money, so she can be a little bad. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Join our 19 million customers today at empower.com.
Past performance is not indicative of future returns. Investing involves risks. You may lose money. Advisory services are provided for a fee by Empower Advisor Group, LLC, EAG, a registered investment advisor with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Om Namaste.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
It's time for the Soul of Excellence.
He is a radio host at 77 WABC here in New York.
The Rush Hour is on the air.
Rush.
Now here's Bo Snerdley
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yes, the tariffs are on the table for discussion today. The tariffs that have affected and will be affecting the auto industry. We will, of course, speak about those things, this phony scandal that they keep trying to blow up and pump wind into over the Signal app and the text chat there. That's still around, lingering, looking for a home. Of course, it has a home on the mainstream media, but it doesn't have a home with most Americans. I believe most people could, like me, don't care at some point. It's like after what we have witnessed through not just the Biden administration, but the Obama administration before that, the Clinton 2 terms, it's like, please, this is not a scandal. Try as you might. There is another story I'd like to speak about, though. It came to me right before the show began. And in order to put this in the context that I would like to put it in, I want to play 2 pieces of audio that we've had hanging around here from the last few days. The first is Congresswoman Laura DeRosa on Donald Trump's executive order concerning the Department of Education. And this was, I think, either Tuesday of this week or Wednesday. Here's Representative DeRosa.
Destroying public education in the United States. That's what this executive order means. It's the dream of every family to make sure that their child has the best of an education, to realize their dreams, their aspirations. It was my parents' dream for me, and it's the dream of every parent around the country. And what this administration is doing is cutting off that American dream and saying, yes, education is for millionaires, billionaires, their kids will be well taken care of. Elon Musk's kids will be taken care of, Donald Trump's kids, and Linda McMahon's kids. But the millions of kids in the United States that will suffer because they have pulled public education. 90% of our children are in public education today. It is a shame. It's a scandal to destroy public education in the United States.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Destroy. Okay, yeah, if you buy into that. Now, of course, what she fails to mention in that is people, the rich people that she's naming, like Elon, most of their kids attend private school. Their parents can afford to send them there. So they pay tax dollars for public schools while at the same time paying out of their own pockets for their children to attend the schools of their choice. That, of course, never comes up in the conversation. Now, CNN did their sympathy piece. Again, this was earlier in the week on some of the layoffs that are occurring at the Department of Education. And by the way, the Department of Education handles the money. We're going to get to that in a moment. They handle the money. They handle student loans, which has been horribly mismanaged. They collect tax dollars from you, the taxpayer, then they redistribute it how they choose. And, with all sorts of strings attached, et cetera, et cetera. It is an agency that's been staffed with bureaucrats, not educators, but bureaucrats. And a lot of the money that is spent, the overwhelming amount of that budget did not go to educating any children. It went to propping up a bureaucracy. But here was CNN's report on the education, Department of Education bureaucrats that were leaving their jobs.
Employees with the Department of Education today were given just 30 minutes to return to their office for one last time and pack up all of their things. The employees were given carts like these to wheel out their belongings. We saw countless employees also with suitcases and boxes carrying out their remaining belongings, and many of them streaming out of this office behind me with tears coming down their face. face. Now, they were greeted with a small crowd of colleagues, former colleagues, who wanted to show their support in this heavy moment. And many employees we talked to expressed that they're worried not only for themselves and their future, but certainly for the nation's students.
I feel devastated. You know, I've been working at the department for 35 years, come March the 26th, and I feel that I was pushed out to retire, and it feels devastating to me. You know, coming here and packing up my bags, and not knowing when I'm gonna get a next paycheck. It's devastating.
Yeah, it is, like packing up my bags, like, and, I've been working, like, in education, like for 35, years, like, like I've been like educating, like, for 35, years. And all of a sudden, it's like, I come into work, like, and then, like my job, is like gone, And so, I don't know how I'm going to educate people, without a job, without, having like, I've been here like 35 years, like I've been like, like I've been here, and now like I'm, gone, like just like that, like that. It's not fair, because, kids are not going to be like, educated, like, if I don't have a job. You know what I'm saying? You do what I'm saying? Yeah, you do, right? You could dig it, right? Okay. So I got this report from the wonderful, gracious, lovely, beautiful, intellectually gifted Princess of Policy, Princess Diana. And I read it. I said, I cannot believe what I'm reading. But yes, I can. And here is what I got. It was a social media post put out by the U.S. Department of Education. Like the one, like, that, was like supposed to be, educating the kids. Like, like, American kids like supposed to be, people like been there like 35 years, trying to like educate kids. You know what I'm saying? ED, that is not erectile dysfunction in this context, maybe in other context. ED is, that means Department of Education. ED is revoking waivers that allowed colleges and universities in California and Oregon to divert federal TRIO funds, TRIO, TRIO funds that were meant for low-income students, first-generation college students, and individuals with disabilities. They diverted that money to illegal immigrants. That program, those waivers have now been revoked under the Trump administration. So this is what your Department of Education was doing with your money. I want you to understand that. And we're talking California and Oregon. California, yes, that means Los Angeles. By the way, population of Los Angeles that would be attending? Oh, yeah, population. Low income. Who would those people be? Would they be some of the Nepo babies from Hollywood? Perhaps not. I don't think so. They would be your average, how do they like to say? Many of them would perhaps include people of color. People of color. Colored. I mean, people of color. Colors. Color people. Would be color people. People of color would be many of them. And the Department of Education under Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, had allowed waivers to take funds away from low-income people of color. People of color. some of them, many of them, to take money away from people of color, low-income individuals, first-generation college students, students who came from impoverished backgrounds, never had anybody, first one, in many cases, first time in the family that they get a chance to go to college in America. Americans, first time ever going to college. They took those monies from them, from the people of color, from the low income people, from the first generation college students, and from individuals who had disabilities. Think about that. Disabilities. That could mean anything from suffering from from any number of disabilities that are out there. They took the money and gave it to illegal immigrants. And you want to tell me, ladies and gentlemen, that it is Donald Trump, Linda McMahon, that are destroying education in this country? Really? By actually giving the states more control of the money. And by cutting down on the bureaucracy and putting that money in the classrooms.
The Rush Hour is on the air. Attention Ditto Heads. Attention Bo Scouts.
Rush
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Before I get to terrorists, before I get to any of this other stuff, it's in Tennessee. Harry, welcome. How are you? Welcome, Harry.
I'm good, Bo.
I saw your comment. You have to tell me this comment.
Democrats have gone from burning crosses to burning Teslas. That says it all.
Harry? Yes, sir. It says it all. Democrats have gone from burning crosses to burning Teslas. Harry, I'm so glad you listened. Thank you. Wanted to get that in. Thank you very much. So since we're on phones, Harry, thank you. Since we're on phones, let's go to South Carolina and speak with Mike. Mike, how are you doing this afternoon?
How you doing, Bo? I spoke to you briefly on Saturday. I have to call another Saturday. I talk music. There's so much stuff going on in our country with Elon and the riots and demonstrations and Maxine Waters with her rhetoric and the other one, Jacqueline, whatever her name is, whatever. Everyone,
you're talking about Jasmine. Jasmine. That would be Jasmine. Okay.
Yes, Jasmine. And you know what? People, chill out. Listen to some music. It's good for the body, mind, spirit, and soul. And a shout out, he's probably off. A shout out to Rich. I grew up not too far away from where he was from. But keep doing it, Bo. I want to
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the call so much. Thank you very much. Let us check in with Sean in Connecticut. How are you, Sean? Welcome.
Okay. Hi, Bo. Thank you for taking my call. I wanted to talk to you about Miss Rosa DeLaura out of New Haven, Connecticut.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
she of the purple hair fame.
Yes. So she's a congresswoman. She lives in the city of New Haven. She's lived in a nice mansion over by Yale campus. If you took a quarter-mile drive over the hill, over into another area of the city where it was mostly a black neighborhood, high in crime, poverty. But nevertheless, she had children, and her children did not attend public schools.
What?
And,
what? How can this be?
And her husband, who is Jewish, carries a different last name. You never hear her or him speak out about, against the the stuff that's going on with the anti-Semitism and the like. So, I mean, she has a lot of nerve to say what she says, and My feeling is, as long as she can keep inner city children in poverty, that's their goal, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you. As long as they can keep dependent people dependent, they can always cry to be the saviors of the people that depend on them. So while she's saying who's going to destroy education, who has destroyed education in blue city after blue city in blue cities all over America? Which party runs it? Which party has presided over the failure of public schools for as many decades as we can remember? It would be her party. James Golden, Snerdley. When we get back, we have some other news that broke today. And my good friend Ed Shea is going to join us. We'll explain all of that.
Rush. It's the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Ed, welcome, my friend. How are you?
James, it's a bittersweet day. Thank you for inviting me. And, you know, as a member of Johnny's team, we knew this day was coming. I mean, we saw sort of the decline in the memory over the past couple of years. And the last engagement we did was up at the Foxwoods Casino. And, of course, when John sang, it was absolutely heavenly, you know, goosebump time. When he had to speak, he got to the point where he was introducing, for instance, his drummer of 42 years. He would have to have a sheet of paper in front of him. So, again, it's a sad thing, that memory loss as you get into your 80s and your 90s, and John would have been 90. So, fortunately, I will be on the last two dates, which are right here, Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, and out in Bergen Pack, which I heard is already sold out. At the Bergen Pack Center in Englewood. And, us musicians, we're rather jaded. We've seen it all. We've played with everybody. I can't tell you, we would rehearse, John, with the local orchestras for maybe 2 hours. Some orchestras like Atlantic City, bang, we knock it off in an hour. And then John would work with just the rhythm section. And I've never seen musicians hang around. Usually when that final note is done, they're either hitting a restaurant or just hanging out, or if you're in Atlantic City, you're walking the boardwalk. They would stay to listen to John, just do his vocal warm-ups with the rhythm section and go through bits and pieces of, My Foolish Heart or Misty, or want photographs with him. And I told you before, James, he was the most generous, the kindest human being in the world. So it's going to be a tough last show doing that. Yeah. It's, I worked with him originally, I think it was February or January of 1970 at the Latin Casino. And I would remind John, this is when we did 2 shows a night, 8 and 11 for 7 days. And, wow. And I just watched him on a repeat of, MeTV this past Sunday, doing a live tribute of Richard Rodgers years ago from the Hollywood Bowl with John Davidson and the Lennon sisters. And he sang Johnny One Note, and he held on to one note. And it was like, God, I can't wait to see John to ask him about that performance. But, I tend not to do it because I don't think, he remembers everything. And listen, don't ask me where my glasses are right now, James, because I'll be looking all over for 5 pairs of dollar store glasses. So, but John is it's been a great journey. And, of course, I'm going to miss him, and I'm going to miss the guys, and I'm going to miss all the local musicians that I've met in, Los Angeles and Las Vegas and Boston and D.C. If we don't know each other's names, there's always hugs. It's always that camaraderie of making great music. And again, after the job, just doing our big social hang with the rhythm section. So, yeah, it's we knew it was coming, and it still leaves a little empty hole in your heart, So,
yeah, but then let's celebrate for a moment.
Yeah.
How many icons in this industry? How many people can say that they have spent 7 decades of their life, 7 decades on the stage performing, and still have it, and still have the voice, still have the magic Johnny Mathis has been performing since the 1950s.
Yes. Well, to answer your question, there's no one right now because, of course, we lost Frank Sinatra, and then Tony Bennett went into his 90s, and John was the last. And I always felt bad that he never got those Kennedy Center Awards. I don't think John was ever invited to that. And you're talking about the 50s. I often think when I was having dinner with John and the guys when they give us catering, I can remember being on the beach in Wildwood, New Jersey with my mom and dad, and my dad had this little Sears Silvertone AM radio, that worked on batteries, and I would hear Johnny singing and Pat Boone, and here I am dining with this guy and then backing him up. This is the end of this era of the saloon singer, the nightclub singer. This is it, James. But it's been just a wonderful experience. And, you're so attuned to the whole music industry that you would reach out to me. One day, you could be talking with Omar Hakim about doing a funk date. And, then we can be talking about Johnny Mathis. And, of course, John did 2 albums with Tom Bell at Sigma down at Philly.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And we had that great hit with Denise Williams, Too Much, Too Little, Too Late. And he was just a beautiful guy. He did a couple albums in Nashville. He never let grass grow under his feet. He was always looking a little something to do. And for years, we used to open with a Philly International medley, Stone in Love. And I forget the other tune. But it was like, what a great opening. I felt like...
Well, I hope it would Stop, Look, and Listen to Your Heart, because he did that on the I'm Coming Home album, and It was a Tom Bell arrangement, and it was awesome.
Yes. And, hopefully on our last 2 engagements, we still do Betcha by Golly Wow. And for years he did You Make Me Feel Brand New, and he always gave Tom a plug. He said, it's famous Philly producer Tom Bell, and I would... Whenever I could get through to Tom, I would let him know, hey, Tom, your name was mentioned. And, oh, yes, Mr. O'Shea.
Yes.
So, James, it's just been wonderful. And like I said, it's going to be a tough final night on that May 18th at the Bergen Pack, packing up the music for the last time.
Maybe we'll be able to speak with you after the show or before that show. And I want to thank you so much for spending some time with us today, and we will talk further. Absolutely. I got nothing but love for you, Ed.
James, listen, I'm honored, and keep up the great work that you do, and God bless you, and thank you so much for inviting me into your world and letting my voice be heard around the world with WABC Radio. Thank you, James.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Ed Shea, ladies and gentlemen, he's out working with Johnny Mathis, who again today has announced his retirement. They had shows scheduled for the rest of the year. They're not going to do it. They're going to stop after the May show, and it ends at Bergen Pack. Interestingly enough, that's it for Johnny Mathis performing. That show already sold out. So, yeah, the great Johnny Mathis. All right, let's get to some things I want to get to really quickly. The signal business is still going on. We got to hand it to Doug Collins. Doug Collins is absolutely Prince, dealing with Caitlin Collins over at CNN. This is that exchange.
Do you believe that a mistake was made here, though, to have this conversation, to add a reporter, and to have it on an unsupported, classified group setting?
Caitlin, as I've just told you, I've just answered the question. I wasn't a part of it, and I'm not going to speculate more than what the president's already talked about and those who've been involved have talked about. But we'd love to talk about the veterans.
Yeah, and I do have questions about the veterans, but given what we saw with the group chat and how this was used, you are a member of the cabinet. You obviously know these other members, several of them who were in there. Is this typical for the cabinet to have conversations over Signal? Is this something that you use?
Well, Caitlin, Senator, you undoubtedly do not want to talk about the VA. I have a question as VA Secretary. His cabinet, I want to ask you, because I've been curious about this, because my job is to take care of veterans, and I would like to know why CNN is hostile to veterans, especially one in Florida where you just had a $5 million defamation suit taking offense at a veteran who was trying to help people. In fact, one of your employees actually said, we're going to nail him. I have a question for you, Caitlin. Is that employee still employed? Are you really concerned about veterans? So if we don't want to talk about veterans now, you want to talk about everything else, I'd like to hear from CNN as the veteran cabinet secretary why CNN seems to have a problem with veterans.
Well, Mr. Secretary, respectfully, my question was about whether or not you as a member of the cabinet use this. And respectfully, I'm conducting the investigation. And I do have a lot of questions for you on Veterans Affairs, but I don't think it would be unwarranted to ask.
What you want to do is talk about a subject that I've already answered. And if you want to continue this like this, that's fine. But there are VA employees who are working very hard. There are veterans who get their care from the VA and they get their benefits from the VA. And it does me no good to speculate on something that I've already asked and answered. So I've asked and answered your question. Why don't you answer mine? Are you still, is this person still employed who said they were going to nail one of my veterans? Who you had to do a $5 million award from a jury because of defamation, and then you settled the case. Answer my question.
Respectfully, sir, I'm asking the questions
good.
Here.
We got it. Now, Caitlin did not having a good run. This cut 8, Jonas, from the White House with Caroline Leavitt, press secretary.
The first bombs will definitely drop. Does the president feel that he was misled by his national security advisors, whoever it was that told him there was no classified information in there, now that he's seen these messages?
I've now been asked and answered this question 3 times by the both of you, and I've given you my answer. The president feels the same today as he did yesterday.
Okay, Philip. And on my follow-up on what you had just said.
Go ahead, Philip. Caitlin, I'm not taking your follow-up.
I have a follow-up on something you just said, though, Caroline. That's
Caitlin,
regarding
I'm not
Jeffrey
taking
Goldsberg.
your follow-up. Philip, go ahead. I have called on you.
No follow-up for you. Now, cut 6. This is on the Signal business. Needs no setup from me. Just here it is.
We are not going to be lectured about national security and American troops by Democrats and the mainstream media who turned the other cheek when the Biden administration, because of their incompetence, left 13 service members dead in Afghanistan, and not a single person in the previous administration was held accountable for that botched withdrawal. Joe Biden said, in fact, it was a great operation. That is despicable. It's unacceptable to this president and this Secretary of Defense. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this inadvertent number being added to the messaging thread. But above all, we take the lives of our troops, safety, security, prosperity around the globe with the utmost seriousness.
Well, there you have it.
This is The Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley, presents Rapid Phones.
Let's start with Sandra in New Jersey, because you called 2 days and I didn't get you in. How you doing, Sandra?
Oh, I'm doing okay, James. I had a nice day. It's really nice outside. You know, James, I was thinking about Mark Stein. How is he feeling? How is he doing? I know you went on cruises with him in the past, and is he ever going to come back on the show? I miss you too. I do.
Well, I don't know about that. You know, Mark is so busy, and he's got so many things going on. I haven't caught up with him in a long time. But I see his post on social media. I know he was doing GB stuff. He had that unfortunate row with that lawsuit that was going on in D.C., which was totally stacked against him. And he really, to me, this was a no-brainer. But this is the same, I believe it's the same D.C. Court circuit that is doing what they're doing with President Trump. But I will make inquiries, Sandra, and thank you for the question. Love it. Thank you so much. Liz in Yonkers, New York, you're next. How are you?
Hi. I'm wondering about this guy Goldberg from the Atlantic. Yes. How did he get his phone number under a cabinet member's name on every phone of every cabinet member? I think it's espionage. I don't think that the Trump administration typed it in on purpose. Somebody who put the phone list together, the contact.
Well, you know, there's a lot of interest going around Mr. Walz in this case. In fact, I saw another, Paul Sperry had a post. Yeah. And I don't know whether this is something that I want to believe or not, but this entire Jeffrey Goldberg thing and Walsh, believe me, there are going to be a lot of questions answered about this over the next few days. I don't have the answer to those questions. And like you, there are things that I want to know. Thank you so much. Swami, is that right? Swami in Brooklyn? Hello.
That's right. Hey, James.
Swami.
Oh, my God. I love your show, man. I listen to it all the time. I know you were short on time. I just want to say I've been here 44 years. I'm still on a green card. And it's amazing why people want to destroy this country. I don't get it. I would like you to explain it to me, why they hate Donald Trump so much. I'll hang up and listen to you. I love you, brother.
Thank you. Love right back. Why people hate Donald Trump is, I will tell you why the Democrats hate Donald Trump. Because of what he's doing right now. Everything that these people have done to build up impenetrable power, he is pulling the rug out from under.
Greg Kelly here with an urgent retirement warning. President Trump's return is set to usher in a new golden age, but growing trade tensions and China's ruthless attack on the dollar have rattled the markets. That's why Warren Buffett just dumped $133 billion in stocks. And so too have Jeff Bezos, Larry Page, and even Jamie Dimon, CEO of the world's largest bank. That's why thousands of informed IRA and 401k savers are now shielding their savings with gold. And the experts at Colonial Metals Group are the only folks I trust to help you to do the exact same thing, especially now after Rich Dad, Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki warned of a coming market crash. So visit freegoldguide.com/Kelly or call 800-655-5186. You'll get a free gold guide on how to bulletproof your wealth with gold tax-free. Plus, see if you qualify for a free home safe and as much as $7,500 in free silver. Once again, that's freegoldguide.com/Kelly.